You're sitting across from her at dinner. The conversation is easy. She's leaning in, laughing at something you said, and then she goes quiet for just a second. Her eyes linger on you in a way that feels deliberate. She doesn't say anything, but you notice. You've been around long enough to know that silence sometimes says more than words ever could. And that pause, that slight shift in her energy, that's not random. She's waiting, not for you to fill the air with more talk. She's waiting for you to pick up on something she'll never actually ask for out loud. Most men miss it. They keep talking, they keep trying to impress, they keep performing. But you don't have to, because at this stage of your life, you've learned that attraction isn't about what you say or what you do to win someone over. It's about what you notice. It's about reading the room, reading her, and understanding the things she wants but would never put into words. And some of those things, they're not polite, they're not soft, they're not the kind of thing she'd admit to her friends, or even to herself most of the time. But they're real, and if you know how to recognize them, you don't have to chase anything. You just respond. Today, we're talking about 7 things women secretly want older men to do but will never ask for. Not because they're ashamed, but because asking ruins it. The whole point is that you already know, that you're aware enough, calm enough, experienced enough to see what's happening without her having to spell it out. And that awareness, that quiet confidence, that's what separates you from younger guys who are still trying to figure it out. If you want more insights like this, go ahead and subscribe to Mature Instincts. This is where we talk about the hidden signals most people miss. Now let's get into it. The first thing she wants is for you to take up space without apologizing for it. Not physically dominating a room or being loud. That's not what this is. This is about presence. She wants to feel that you're comfortable in your own skin, that you don't shrink yourself to make other people comfortable, and that you don't need permission to exist fully in a moment. Younger men often try to be agreeable. They adjust, they accommodate, they soften their edges because they think that's what makes them attractive, and sometimes it works in the short term. But it doesn't create respect, and it definitely doesn't create tension, the kind of tension that makes a woman feel something. When you walk into a space and you're not looking around for approval, when you sit down and you're not fidgeting or checking your phone every 30 seconds, when you speak and your voice doesn't rise at the end like you're asking a question, she notices, she feels it, and what she feels is safety. Not the kind of safety that's boring, the kind that comes from being around someone who knows who he is and doesn't need the room to validate him. That's magnetic. And she's not going to say, hey, I need you to be more grounded and take up more space. She's just going to drift toward you when you do. The second thing is that she wants you to let her chase a little. This one throws a lot of men off because we've been told for years that we have to pursue. We have to initiate, we have to prove interest. And sure, in the beginning, you might need to make the first move. But after that, if you're always the one reaching out, always the one planning, always the one making sure the conversation doesn't die, you're not creating attraction. You're creating a dynamic where she doesn't have to invest. And people don't value what they don't work for. That's just human nature. She wants to wonder about you a little. She wants to feel like you have a life that doesn't revolve around her. Not because you're playing games, but because you actually do. You have things you care about. You have routines, you have friends, you have interests that matter to you. And when she texts and you don't respond instantly, when she suggests getting together and you say you're busy that night but free later in the week, she feels something shift. Suddenly you're not just available, you're someone she has to plan around. And that creates value, it creates intrigue, it makes her think about you when you're not there. And that's what keeps attraction alive. The third thing is more direct. And this is where a lot of men get uncomfortable. She wants you to lead physically without asking permission every step of the way. Now, let me be clear. This doesn't mean ignoring her boundaries or being pushy. It means reading her body language, noticing when she's receptive, and moving with confidence instead of hesitation. When you're walking together and you put your hand on the small of her back to guide her through a crowded room, that's leadership. When you're sitting next to her and you let your leg rest against hers and you don't pull away immediately, that's awareness. When you're saying goodbye and you hold eye contact for an extra second before you lean in, that's presence. Women are attracted to men who can navigate physical escalation smoothly. Not aggressively, not mechanically, but naturally, like it's something you've done 1,000 times and you're not overthinking it. Younger guys often ask too much. Is this okay? Can I do this? Are you comfortable? And while that comes from a good place, it kills the moment. It makes her the one responsible for moving things forward. And that's not what she wants. She wants to feel like you're confident enough to read her signals and respond accordingly. If she pulls back, you stop. If she leans in, you continue. It's a conversation, but it's a physical one. And men who understand that don't have to ask what to do next. They already know. The fourth thing is that she wants you to be a little selfish sometimes. Not in a way that's careless or dismissive, but in a way that shows you have standards, that you're not just going along with whatever she wants because you're afraid of losing her. That's a trap a lot of men fall into. They think being accommodating makes them more attractive. It doesn't. It makes them forgettable. She wants to know that you have preferences, that you'll speak up if something doesn't work for you, that you won't just smile and nod when she suggests something you're not interested in. This shows up in small ways. She suggests a restaurant you don't like, and instead of just agreeing, you say, I'm not really in the mood for that. How about this place instead? She wants to change plans last minute, and instead of dropping everything, you say, I can't tonight, but I'm free tomorrow. It's not about being difficult. It's about showing that your time and your preferences matter. And when you do that, she respects you more because it signals that you're not desperate. You're not trying to keep her happy at the expense of your own boundaries. You're treating the relationship like a partnership between two people who both have needs. And that's attractive. The fifth thing is that she wants you to notice the details but not make a big deal out of them. Women pay attention to everything, the way you look at them, the way you listen, whether you remember something they mentioned 3 weeks ago. And when you pick up on those details without announcing it, that's when she feels seen, not in a performative way, in a real way. She mentions offhand that she's stressed about a project at work, and 2 days later you ask how it went. She tells you she likes a certain type of wine, and the next time you're together, that's what you bring. She's wearing something different, and you notice without making it weird. You just say, that looks good on you, and move on. It's the small things that build trust and attraction over time, because it shows you're paying attention. Not because you're trying to score points, but because you're actually interested. And that's something a lot of younger men don't do. They're too focused on themselves, too focused on what they're going to say next. But you've been around long enough to know that listening and noticing is more powerful than talking. And she feels that difference. The sixth thing, and this one is big, is that she wants you to be completely unbothered by her tests. Women test men, not because they're manipulative, but because they're trying to figure out if you're solid, if you're confident, if you're the man you present yourself as, or if that's just a front. She'll say something to gauge your reaction. She'll cancel plans to see if you get upset. She'll mention another guy to see if you get jealous. She'll challenge something you said to see if you get defensive. And the way you respond tells her everything. If you react emotionally, if you get insecure or needy or passive-aggressive, she knows you're not as grounded as you seemed. But if you stay calm, if you don't take the bait, if you respond with humor or indifference, she feels safe because it shows that you're not easily shaken, that you don't need her validation to feel secure. And that's incredibly attractive. Younger men fail these tests all the time because they're too reactive. They're too invested too quickly. But you don't have to be. You've been through enough in life to know that one person's opinion of you doesn't define your worth. And when you operate from that place, you become almost immune to the games. And ironically, that's when the games stop. The seventh thing is the hardest one to admit, but it's true. She wants you to be willing to walk away if it's not right. Not in a cold way, not as a threat, but as a quiet understanding that you're not going to force something that isn't working, that you value yourself enough to recognize when a situation isn't serving you and to step back with dignity. Most men are terrified of this. They think if they're not constantly fighting to keep someone, they'll lose them. But the opposite is true. When a woman knows you're not desperate, when she knows you're with her because you want to be, not because you need to be, that's when she invests fully. This doesn't mean being detached. It means being honest. If something bothers you, you say it. If the relationship isn't progressing in a way that feels right, you address it. And if after that it still doesn't align, you're willing to let it go. That level of self-respect is rare and it's powerful because it forces her to ask herself if she's willing to lose you. And if she's not, she'll show up differently. She'll invest more. She'll stop testing and start trusting. But you can't fake this. You actually have to mean it. You have to be at a place in your life where you'd rather be alone than in the wrong relationship. And when you get there, you stop chasing and you start attracting. So let's bring this together. Women want you to take up space without apologizing. They want you to let them chase a little. They want you to lead physically without overthinking it. They want you to be a little selfish with your time and boundaries. They want you to notice the details without performing. They want you to stay calm when they test you. And they want you to be willing to walk away if it's not right. None of these are things she'll ever say out loud. But all of them are things she's hoping you already understand. And the reason she's hoping that is because understanding these things means you're experienced. It means you're not just going through the motions. It means you've lived enough to know what matters and what doesn't. And that's the advantage you have now. You don't have to try as hard because you've already learned what works. At 50 and beyond, you're not competing with younger men on their terms. You're playing a completely different game. One where patience, presence, and awareness win. Where noticing the unspoken is more valuable than saying the right thing. where being grounded matters more than being flashy. And the women who are worth your time can feel that difference immediately. They've been around enough to know that confidence isn't loud. It's quiet, it's steady, and it's exactly what they've been looking for. So take a second and think about your own experiences. Have you noticed any of these patterns? Have you seen how women respond differently when you stop trying so hard and just exist as yourself? Drop a comment and let me know. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if this resonated with you, go ahead and hit the like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe to Mature Instincts. This is where we break down the hidden signals most people miss. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.